Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Brita Wallace, family and parent educator with Wallace Family Ministry. So today we are on day 10 of the Love Dare, and we are talking about love being unconditional, okay? So we always start with a verse, and our verse today is Romans 5:8, and Romans 5:8 says, God demonstrates his own love towards us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, right? So if someone were to ask you why you loved your partner, what would the answer be? All right. So we might say that we might love our partner because of their beauty or, their muscles. But these sorts of things fade over time. If you're loving them for a specific reason like that or what they can do for you, well, these things might fade over time. So if those things were taken away and you were asked, would you still love your spouse if those things weren't there? Well, if your love is based upon those things, the logical answer would be no, right? You wouldn't. But if we're basing our love for our spouse on unconditional love, if we are loving our spouses because we're choosing to love them no matter what, if we're taking the vows, I will love you through sickness and in health till death do us part, through good times and bad times, okay? Those are the things that really define what love is, that we're choosing to love no matter what. That is a hard concept to grasp for some people, especially in our culture today, where divorce is so easily attainable, where it's so accepted today, okay? The thing about divorces is that the divorce numbers are actually declining. But do you want to know why? Less people are getting married and married. They want to try living together first. People don't value marriage like we used to, and they're just choosing not to go down that road because the divorce statistic was over 50%. So yeah, that makes you a little weary to get into marriage, right? That's a little scary when you think about that. There is a half and half chance that this could go either way. And it's so easy for my spouse. Maybe you're not the one thinking about bailing, or maybe you are. Maybe you're the one that's thinking, oh, well, I'm not 100% sure this is right, but I have an out. Or maybe you're thinking, my spouse has an out. It doesn't make us feel secure when we look at the divorce statistics in our culture today and how easily acceptable it is and how easily attainable it is, right? That can make some of us feel very insecure to get into a marriage, and that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people choose not to do it today. It's not valued, like I said before. So if your reasons for loving your spouse all have something to do with his or her qualities, well, they disappear. Beauty fades, muscles go away, These things, they leave us as we age, okay? And the only way that love can last a lifetime is if it's unconditional. The truth is, lasting love is not determined by one being loved, but rather by one choosing to love, okay? We have to choose to love. It is a choice, all right? So the Bible refers to this kind of love by using the Greek word agape, and this differs from other types of love like phileo, which is friendship, and eros is sexual love. Both friendship and sex have important places in marriage, of course, and are a big part of the house that you built together as partners, okay? But if your marriage totally depends on having common interests or enjoying a healthy sex life, then the foundation of your relationship is not stable, okay? We cannot depend solely on friendship or sex to be the foundation of our relationship. We need to have agape love as the foundation, unconditional, okay? Phileo and eros are more responsive in nature and can fluctuate based upon feelings. So when someone says, I've fallen in love with you, it is phileo or eros love. These are fickle and can change depending upon circumstances. Unconditional love does not change. It's never changing, okay? It's important to recognize that it is possible to allow yourself to fall in and out of love with multiple people throughout your life. That's why we should guard our hearts from others and guard it only for our spouses alone. All right? And we can fall in and out of love with our own spouses. Do you ever feel like that? Man, like we're just going through such this great time. We're really connecting. We're getting along really well. You know, maybe our kids are away and we got a babysitter for the weekend and we got to go away and got to reconnect. And you fell in love with them all over again. And then the other side, maybe you're just going through a really hard time. Maybe there's something that came up in your lives where you're just not agreeing on anything. This one thing just put this tension between you, and now you just seem to be fighting about everything because this one thing is left unresolved. And then you're like, man, I really don't feel like I'm really in love with my spouse right now. Okay, and we ebb and flow out of this, even in our marriages, even in our relationships, okay? But feeling in love is something that we can enjoy, all right? And it rekindles over and over again if we let it and we seek to rekindle it. But it should not determine our commitment level to our marriage, okay? It should not. Agape love, on the other hand, is unselfish. It's unconditional and it's unstoppable. It is based upon a choice and commitment, and it's not based upon feelings. So when this kind of love forms the foundation, unless this kind of love forms the foundation of your marriage, the wear and tear of time could destroy it. That is hard. That is a hard thing to hear, right? Agape love is, again, like I had said, in sickness and in health, and death do us part, richer or poorer, right? For better or worse. This is the only kind of love that is lasting, unchanging, and true, okay? So the reason for this is because it's God's love. It's the way that God loves us. He doesn't love us because we're lovable. He loves us because he's loving, okay? Because he chooses to love us, and he gives us a choice to love him or to seek him. He doesn't force things upon us, okay? So if a man says to his wife, I no longer love you, he is actually saying, I never loved you unconditionally to begin with. His love was based on feelings or circumstances rather than commitment. That's the result of building a marriage on filial or eros love. There must be a strong foundation, that mere friendship, a stronger foundation than mere friendship or sexual attraction. Okay, unconditional love, agape love, will not be swayed by time or circumstance. It will not be swayed by, my wife was once beautiful, now she's gained some weight, now she's not attractive anymore to me, so I'm gonna go find a younger version of her, maybe, and I think that's why, perhaps this is just an opinion, some men do that, they go through wife after wife after wife, and sometimes they keep getting younger and younger and younger. Well, because beauty fades over time. Maybe they don't like when women get old, right? They don't want that type of relationship. They're choosing to not love their spouses unconditionally. They're choosing to love them. I would say, that would be eros love, where it's that sexual attraction and connection that you have with somebody. But growing old with somebody, having those years, putting in that time and commitment is such a blessing, and it's fruitful. It's a fruitful sacrifice that we get to take with us. It is, it's work, but it's an accomplishment, right? And it's so, I just imagine, like, my grandparents were married for just shy of 62 years. They would have been married for 62 years in January, and my grandma passed away in November, so it was just a few months shy of that. And my grandma had told me once that her and my grandpa, didn't have a happy marriage for a very, very long time, that it took them a long time to get where they were at. And I didn't ever know. I was very surprised when she told me that, because those weren't the grandparents I knew. The grandparents I knew, my grandpa was a little grumpy and stuff when I was younger. My grandma could be a little tough sometimes. But I just remember that they loved each other. I remembered watching them dance and celebrating anniversaries and just family, right? Just this family bond that they created and had, and what an accomplishment. But what if my grandma decided, hey, it was tough and I'm gonna walk away, but she chose to stay and love him unconditionally. And what an accomplishment. We, as her grandkids and her children and her legacy, get to look on that and say, that's what I want. There's so many of us in my family that says, I want that kind of love. Okay, yeah, maybe it was hard for a long time, but I will tell you right now, any marriage you get into, any relationship that you're in for an extended period of time, whether it's a marriage or not, is going to go through the ebbs and flows of the relationship. We choose to love. We choose to stay with our spouse, with our partners, because we love them unconditionally. It is a choice. Love is a choice. So many times people just refer to love as a feeling, and it's not. It's a choice, okay? All right, so this is not to say that love which began for the wrong reasons cannot be restored and redeemed, okay? So this is good news. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, like, hey, I did get into my marriage for the wrong reasons, and now I cannot, what do I do now? Well, it can be restored and redeemed. We can choose to love our spouses starting today, right? In fact, when we rebuild our marriage with agape love as its foundation, the friendship and romantic aspects of our love become more endearing than ever before, okay? There is the secret. We have to build a foundation first, okay? So when your enjoyment of each other as both best friends and lovers is based on unwavering commitment, you will experience an intimacy that cannot be achieved by any other way, not by any one of those other types of love, okay? But you will struggle and ultimately fail to attain this kind of marriage or relationship unless you first allow God to begin establishing and growing his love within you. So love bears all things, it believes all things, it hopes all things, it endures all things. 1 Corinthians 13:7. It does not come from within, it comes from God, okay? So regardless of circumstances and feelings, you and your spouse can begin living confidently and securely under the shade of unconditional love. You will no longer be saying, I love you, because you will now be saying, I love you, period. Okay? I love that. I love you, period. There's no because. There's no, I love you conditionally. It's, I love you. And that's it. And I'm going to stick this thing out with you because we're going to leave a legacy behind. And what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Right? All right. So, our key points today, I always put the verse up just for people who want to reflect back on it. Romans 5:8. All right, so the only way love can last a lifetime is if it is unconditional, okay? So love is a choice, not a feeling. We need to choose to love our spouses. We need to choose to love our fiancés. We need to choose to love our partners, okay? We value the relationship and want to stay with our partners. If we want it to last, we have to choose to love them anyway. We need to guard our hearts from others and preserve it only for our spouses, okay? We lead our hearts. We don't let our hearts lead us. Okay, the Bible warns us about that. Feeling in love is something that you can enjoy and rekindle over and over and over again, but that feeling should not guide us, okay? They should not determine our commitment level to our spouses, to our marriage, to our partners, okay? Agape love, it's unconditional, it's unselfish, it's unstoppable. It is a choice. It is based on commitment and not on feelings, okay? It needs to be the foundation of our marriage. So if it's not the foundation of your marriage, well, the good news is we can start to make it be the foundation of our marriage with a choice, okay? By choosing to. This is the only kind of love that is lasting, never changing, and true, all right? So unconditional love is agape love, and this will not be swayed by time or circumstance. This kind of love is the way that God loves us, and this kind of love is saying, I love you, period. It's not conditional, okay? I don't love you because of what you can do for me. I don't love you because of how you look. I love you no matter what, okay? So I just think about, people who get in car accidents, unfortunately, and become paralyzed, or they get cancer. Well, think about that. If that happened to your spouse, are you going to love them anyway? Are you going to love them for better or worse? Are you going to love them through sickness and in health? Okay, we need to get back to a point where if we are going to take a step into marriage, where in our culture we need to value marriage, we need to go into marriage not thinking, hey, I always have an out. So easy to have an out today. If this doesn't work out, oh, I could try again, I could just get divorced. Thinking, oh my goodness, my spouse can divorce me. We have to go into our marriages with an unconditional love, with that as the foundation. And if that hasn't been the foundation, again, we can redeem that, we can restore it, we can start building that foundation today. All right, so the dare is, do something out of the ordinary today for your spouse, something that proves to you and to them that your love is based on your choice, okay? You're choosing to love them and nothing else. Maybe you could wash her car, clean the kitchen, buy him his favorite dessert, fold the laundry, do something that you normally wouldn't do that's saying, hey, I'm choosing to do this for you today because I love you. Demonstrate love to them for the sheer joy of just being their partner, okay? So we are going to end there. Make sure you do your dare. And if you are listening to the audiobook, make sure you have a notebook so you can, there's some questions in the back where you can record your answers, because what happens is when we're practicing love in action, we get responses, maybe not right off the bat, especially if our relationships are shaky or rocky, or whatever, however you want to say it, but we're going to see the fruit there. And I will tell you that I've done this study before. You can see there's like pages in here, like random papers, there's all sorts of things that are underlined, there's words written under the questions. And the thing is that when we're answering these questions, and I get to look back on this, especially as I'm studying for this study and going through it to teach, I get to look back and say, wow, like this is what I did for Chris and this is how he responded. And I will tell you that when I started this study for the first time, our marriage was really on rocky ground. And when we were in New York, he just wasn't he just wasn't happy there. So he would get often depressed, and that affected our relationship some, of course. And then we just were not in a great place. And when I started this, I had said, after, I don't know, it was not even that long, just maybe like a week, I was like, I'm just watching him bloom like a flower. It really works. And we were not on solid ground. We were not in a good place at the time. And when I started doing this study, and he had no idea I was doing it, I was just doing these dares. I was practicing love in action, and I was literally watching my husband bloom like a flower. That's how I had referred to it as. That was the analogy that I used, was like, I'm literally watching him bloom like a flower right now. There is more pep in his step, greeting him, as opposed to, I have a special needs kid at home who literally has screamed most of his life. So he worked 12 hours. Coming home, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need to walk away for 5 minutes, and was very stressful. And I changed how I approached him. And I would start greeting him. Jack and I would start greeting him like super excited, like, yes, we're so happy to see you. Daddy's home. And just these little things that the book is asking us to do really do leave so much lasting fruit in our lives. And anything I share with you about my marriage, I have had permission. I didn't specifically ask him permission about each thing, but I just want to let you know, I have talked to him before. This business that I am running, the teaching and coaching and stuff, there are things helping families thrive in relationships and marriages and the relationship dynamics within our home. We have talked about, hey, there are some things that I'm going to share. I'm going to do that as respectfully as possible, and with as little as information as possible, without getting into like deep details or anything. But we do have that agreement, which I think if we are sharing things with others, because there does need to be a level of privacy within our marriages and between just us, our spouses. And I think that we do have to ask for permission to share sometimes. And that was just a little thing that I just wanted to throw in there, because even when somebody's opening up to us, I think it's important that we're even saying, even if it's not our spouse, it's just a friend, or we're listening and they're having a hard time, well, do I have permission to share? Do I have permission to share something with you? Do I have permission to share this? Because sometimes they're not going to want to hear it, right? Or some things, if it's a situation where I think, this is iffy, Chris might not want me to share this, then I might say, hey, do I have permission to share this in my teachings, right? So it's important that we are asking those questions. That's just a little something I've learned in coaching. We really need to ask for permission to share. So I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in to my channel. I'll see you tomorrow for day 11 of the Love Dare. And make sure, if you haven't yet, check out the Love Dare for Parents. I love you. God bless. And I will see you tomorrow.